It's quite an interesting week, and we've had a lot of things happening in this country. We've seen the politicians coming together,
separating at the end.
Separating again. It's your favorite show. It's Let's Be Real. I'm your host, CEO Charles Otieno, alongside the ones who disappeared last week.
Yeah, Dr. C here. I'm a mother. That's what I need to say. And I was attending my daughter's prize giving day. And, you know, we're raising winners. She won a prize.
Which
Progress. She's in the band school.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, so she won a prize, a progress prize. So I'm so happy of my daughter and proud of her. So that's the only reason I was not.
Okay, yes. Like proud mom.
That being the only reason, yeah. That's the best reason.
Yeah, it's the best
the
reason.
best reason.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, parenting, I always say we are doing humanity a favor sometimes when we choose to bring up children who are, because we can also bring up children who are gangsters.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember last week we offended Simon when we said that we are not doing gentle parenting. We are going to be present and discipline our children.
Okay, Maria.
Have you recovered?
Go ahead and
Okay.
introduce yourself. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Go ahead.
I am Maria Nyambani Waweru. I'm so happy to be here. It's such an honor to have you today. Yes, because I know one thing for sure. Last week I was with them, and they were not so friendly.
Oh, really?
They are not so friendly.
I'm a cool guy.
And you know, well, I'm Simon, by the way. Yes, indeed. And yes, and I'm one thirsty fellow. Make sure you guys, for a special moment, she gets us Samantha's wines. We pour up on?
Yes.
Exactly.
Samantha
Why
wines,
not?
yes.
As we begin the show.
Well,
CEO,
yes.
sister with the first topic as we pour up. Go ahead.
Let me drink my water in peace.
Yes.
CEO
For me,
wants
I
everyone
need
to
this
know
in
he
the
doesn't
economy.
drink.
But anyway, let's ladies and gentlemen, this week we saw the deaths of protesters, the young protesters, the Gen Zs. The number, I think the government gave us a number of 21. From our sources, we know there were 41 people who were killed because of those protests. But the most interesting thing is that these people died in the line of duty. And I've seen most of them are being buried by their peers draped in the Kenyan flag. I'll have my comments later. What do you guys think?
May I hop in first of all?
Yeah.
My thoughts are like this. A lot of government officials, they may be angry right now because of the way that the Kenyan flag is. You're technically, you're not supposed to bury someone in the ground with the Kenyan flag. You're supposed to actually just cover it, and even the flag is not even supposed to touch the ground. And then now you're supposed to now fold the flag, then hand it over to the family,
Yes.
and then after that, now you bury the casket itself. Now, I understand that protocol, but given that this is protest season, because we're protesting a lot against a lot of government bureaucracy, I understand going against protocol, because being honest, here's what I mean. Protocol is a lot of the times is the reason why we're in the situation that we're in right now. A lot of government officials hide behind protocol. And they start saying, you have not gone the right way. You know, you're trying to get this document. Or you've not gotten the stamp from so-and-so. Or you've not followed protocol. A lot of bureaucracy. I understand that people may say that you need to respect the Kenyan flag and put it this way. But then now, there comes a time to rebel against protocol in the strongest way possible. And not only in word, but also in action. Because a lot of times, government officials, when they hide behind protocol, it actually now condones their lethargic behavior and condones corruption in many ways. So even this action in itself, in burying people with the Kenyan flag and everything, as a way of honoring them, because our leader actually called them, what? Criminals. Or those guys who are just guys who just go get KFC and everything. As a form of rebellion, there comes a time where protocol has to take a back seat. Because protocol is just something that you should do, not something that you must do. Because the thing is, sometimes you have to, because there comes a time, as one awesome politician said, that you must actually step outside the bounds of normal protocol to actually show the government that indeed we are serious and the revolution continues.
Protocol. Protocol? Why is that protocol not stating the actual number of children we lost? Yeah, that's what you need to hear. I don't see the problem with them being buried with flag. Yes, I understand you're supposed to cover, do this and do that, and also that is done to heroes, right?
Yes.
Now, do these people know that this are how it works? The Gen Zs themselves. But most of them may not know how it works. They just know we bury them with flag, and that's what they're doing. They just know that we bury our heroes with flags, and they consider these people heroes. That's why they're doing it. The government has found something that they are doing wrong that they need to announce. But in real sense, the one thing that needs to be announced is, why are we not giving their number? Why did they die? Why was there the shooting that was happening? The fact that they are now concerned about the flag so much. I know we respect the Kenyan flag, but right now these are people who went to fight for the same Kenya, the same country, that right now, instead of thinking of how you're going to solve their lives, because they are still having their demands, they still have their issues, deal with that so that they can stop. It's like, I said this last week, sometimes what they are doing is out of spite. That is what they are showing, out of spite. And if they are doing it out of spite, and maybe out of lack of knowledge that this is how they're supposed to do, because I don't think they've all watched you fold a flag and hand it over to the family. Most of them don't know that. And for them is, we are burying our heroes. For them, the people who died, all of them are our heroes. And the fact that they're being buried by Gen Zs themselves, those are children, it means that they are doing things the best way they know how. First, to spite. Second, they may not have the knowledge. And third, maybe they just want the government to stand up and act or react. And they have reacted to the flag and not the deaths.
Dr. C, what say you?
I thought you guys are Gen Zs.
I'm
I'm just wondering, when the way you're referring to them, to their project.
No, she did.
Yeah.
She did. I'm in it.
I think millennials include, even Gen Xers, quite a number of them, because they're our children. I think this is everyone's protest. And I think even law-abiding people, you're allowed to protest and picket. There's a law on that. And I agree with all of you, yes. Some may not know, and at least it's an opportunity to learn how the national flag is supposed to be handled. This reminds me of that influencer who was shooting things at the airport.
Miss Trudy. That's my friend.
Miss Trudy, she was shooting things at the airport. And I remember saying the airport, the management should be paying her for bringing light to the fact that you cannot just go shooting videos everywhere. You know, the way KOT really came on her, it was a moment to educate people. And I must say that in this particular case, I don't think so that in this case, the people are aware. Because I think they've seen in the movies, all the heroes, the caskets being covered with a flag. So they know, that's what they know how to do. So the civic education obviously will come in there. But on the other hand, I agree with you, Simon, that there's time for protocol and there's time for come and imbaya. In this case, yeah, they are doing what they actually want to do and send the strongest message.
Clearly. CEO!
You know, I always say, and I'll quote Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, my friend, we say that high-end life requires high responsibility. You know, the responsibility is the government needed to, first of all, sit down and educate the public about what the Constitution-protected offices are and what the national flag is meant for. First of all, the national flag is meant for to be raised in national days, and number two, to indicate our sovereignty. Number three, our flag is used to show that if our military personnel or any person who have served the nation with distinction has passed on, is that when we put it on the casket and give to the family. I do not have a problem with the young Gen Zs using the national flag, because it is not stipulated in law that who is a hero. The law should have been clear to say who is a hero, because naturally and historically you've seen that any movement which starts, everyone is always called a terrorist. Even Mandela was called a terrorist. Yeah. Even any Mau Mau freedom fighters were called terrorists. Before people come, even the second liberation of this country, the James Orengos, the Martin Shikukus, the Raila Odingas, they were called terrorists. And they were jailed for the clamor for liberation. What I wanted to say is that in this fight for heroism and protecting our country, there are many people who have gone before. And every 20 years, there must always be a generation, every 20 years, which fights for something. In the 1920s, the first generation came when the awareness of the land reform, the national land issues. You remember that? These taxes you see today came from the hut tax. The Mzungu came in, and to discourage the natives from building, if you built 2 huts, you paid 2 taxes. So they wanted people to live in, say, one house, in each, not to build more huts. And that's why that thing you used to call the hut tax. You've heard people saying that in the earlier there was a hut tax. If you built a house, you are taxed according to the house homesteads you have. If you have 1, it's 1. You have 5, 5. So people protested, it was dropped.
In Kenya?
Yes, the hut tax was in Kenya.
Which year?
1920s.
That was before you. Now you see how you feel all the time when you guys talked about those back in your days. That was back in his days.
It's not in his days. He also read. He also read.
Yes, but go on, go on.
So 1920s that was there. Then it came to 1940s when we started fighting for independence. Every 20 years, there's always a generation which fights. Then 1960s, the independence. Then the 80s came, when we started now fighting for the multipartyism, which ended in the 90s, and in 2000 we had a new constitution. So it is this generation to fight, and along the way, there have been people who have died, and we have always remembered that they should be buried as heroes. Only that, it is a reserve for the government. So what these Gen Zs are doing is just telling us that you cannot dictate to us how we will bury our own, and you cannot dictate what is heroism to us. I think what we need is to have that conversation on how do we identify heroes. Not how do we, because there are heroes in every sector and every facet. There are people who have been heroes, but they are educationalists, but we don't bury them with flags. But people feel they should be buried with flags. There are martyrs who have served either in areas where they are not in nursing and which people think they've really impacted people, but they have not been buried with flags. So this burial of Gen Zs should be brought into a bigger conversation where we say, who are our heroes? How do we bury them? Is it a reserve of the government, or can we now form a whole unit of groups of people who can say, if you come from this village and you think this guy has impacted you, we can bury him with a flag.
CEO, let me put you on the spot. Do you think Gen Zs are heroes?
Of course they are. If you die for your country, you're a hero. It's nothing which you can say beyond that. Why are you dying? You're dying for a reason. You're dying for better governance.
Who is defining the reason you're dying for? Because right now, it depends on where you are. If you are on the side of, if you are in the government today, some people feel in the government feel so that these are foreigners who've been infiltrated. But if you're on the resisting part, where most of the citizens are, then you are dying for the liberation of everyone in terms of some of the oppressive things the citizens are complaining about. So it depends on who is
Where you look at
defining,
it, yes.
yes, how you're looking at it.
Remember that, Dr. C, and I agree with you, but remember the government has a propaganda machine. And all these things they are saying, and with the Minister for Internal Security, Kindiki, is a propagandist approach, where you always term a good cause and give it names so that you can get in there, either to divide it or to do heinous crime against it. So when you say these people who are supporting them from abroad,
I was just trying to check my language
That's one of the angles
in
that you
case
have
people
in
come
mind
and pick
today.
me up at night from my house.
no, you don't check. No, it's preposterous for someone to
Yes.
think that this Kenyan youth would be sponsored from. It's the same way in the 80s, people thought that the youth who were going to liberate in the 90s were being taken to Libya and the Mwakenya movement. There was same sentiments.
Even just to even add on, what makes it even worse, do you know who has done the Kenyan flag most disservice? These leaders who have been corrupt, even being a disgrace to even our nation, then putting us deeper in debt. Who has done more of a disgrace to even our Kenyan flag? Because our Kenyan flag is a form of unity and an emblem in which that we can represent it, saying that wherever I go to England or wherever, that this is a Kenyan flag in which I raise up high because I represent my nation. But then what is the one thing that we're always ashamed of, that many Kenyans are known? Corruption. Because of who? Our leaders. So who's really defacing the face of Kenyan flag? Our leaders. That is the truth. About Dr. C, what's this other story that you got before I go on a rant? I'm about to go on a
So cost to cost, I just wanted to bring to the attention of everyone, the viewers, colleagues. Did you know that every month we lose close to 8 people, most of them women, out of being witch hunted? Somebody just declares you're a witch, and when they say you're a witch, it means you get lynched. And the statistics are so dire in places like Kisii, and the other day BBC Kilifi had a whole documentary on how the elderly people are being disenfranchised of properties. So some of the key characteristics, in fact, even in my village, last December, there was a couple, 50-year-olds, who just people descended because somebody just said, you're a witch. And they were lynched and actually burned alive in Nyeri. And especially for women, they just need to be widows. They just need to be, some of them have been working very hard on the farm. Their eyes are red, obviously because they are cooking with the cooking stick and the smoke. They can't afford, sunblock and everything, so their eyes are wrinkled. So you'll find even a 40-year-old just being accused. And especially if they're recently widowed, you find people actually want to take their land. Or I think on this platform we've discussed parents who are really elderly and their children want them to go, or the neighbors just want them to go because they want their land. So it's in this day and age, it's very primitive, but I think we need to discuss it. We need to bring this thing to light that honestly, it shouldn't be happening in today's.
Maria, what do you think?
There are some primitive, poor children who do not know how to treat their parents. First of all, the one thing that everyone should understand is aging is inevitable. And if you don't get to aging, you will die young. So when someone decides that because you are old, because you look a certain way, and because you are alone, no one can defend you, we are going to call you a witch so that you can die. That is actually murder in the worst possible way. You just sit down and decide that I am killing you, but I'm not killing you in any other way. I'm just going to publicly disgrace you, then end your life. That is very wrong. And if it comes from family, then we all know one thing for sure. The poor poverty, these people who are filled with poverty in their minds, they are the ones who want to come for your land because they did not know that they can also work and get something. And we are getting to a point whereby in this era and age, allow people to live and enjoy their lives to the end, because if you are a woman and you're doing that to a fellow woman, just understand that you are aging. You'll get there. We all are going to get there. And if we don't get there, we die young. So age is a privilege. Age actually is a privilege. And if someone gets to a certain age, you realize that you are privileged to have had all those years of making memories, loving people, staying with people. If it comes to a point that now you are old, you're supposed to now actually enjoy your life and be thankful that you've lived that long. That is the time that now they are coming after you and calling you a witch. Let me tell you something. If that person was a witch, they would not have allowed you to call them a witch. They would have known you called them a witch and they would have killed you. Stop killing innocent women in the name of their wealth, in the name of their alone, or in the name of we want to just prove a point because of how they look. We all look different, we age differently, but we understand that aging is a privilege that even you are going to get there. Manalies.
Yeah, so... But age is a privilege. So you're also proud of your age, right?
Yeah.
You guys are also very proud of your
Yes.
age. That's good. It's also important.
The alternative
Because
to
the
that is
alternative
death.
is 6 feet under.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. And that's key. One thing even I see from this is, I see it from the perspective of culture. And here's what I mean. In the society that you are acclimated in, there's a culture in the way that things are done. And that culture has a way of branding people because you look this way, you are a witch. Because they now give answers, because this culture now gives answers to the questions that many people have. Why did her husband die? Then they are acclimated to a negative thing because of the acclimated culture and so on and so forth. So that's why even I say there's a negative aspect when you uphold culture too high and you dehumanize the individual. When you uphold culture too high and you dehumanize the individual, you lack the ability to actually see someone as a human being. Because you only see people and their actions through the lens of your own culture. And hence your judgment and your prejudice is from culture itself. That's what many us Africans need to have that real conversation as. We need to start seeing people as individuals before you start now seeing them through the lens of what your culture says, of what even your belief says. That will help you even grow and see as an individual, as help you get a broader scope of understanding, not a limited scope of culture. And that is what leads to what Maria was saying, primitive actions, and hence you end up acting foolish because culture has ingrained within your head that because Maria or this lady, unfortunately her husband has passed away, something must be wrong with her. Or something because my culture says that indeed when this happens, we must now come as a community and take this land. She is not this is now our community aspect of it all, because our culture says that we must, of course, come together and protect this land and help her manage it, under the whole premise of we're helping her manage the whole thing because there's no man in her life. Because our culture says that the man must preside over certain property. That's now where culture now blinds you from actually seeing someone as an individual. That's why you also have to make sure that indeed, please make sure that you remember that even as we add, that's the big friction a lot of times between older people and the even younger generations, is that older people want to uphold some culture aspects and they don't realize how that aspect is actually blinding them from understanding the younger generation. So that's even a big friction that's happening even in Africa, as even older people are becoming older and older, and there's that disdain that even younger generations have. From Nigeria to South Africa, as even you hear this constant conversation of the push and pull between generations, because older people hold certain standards, be it even be religion, be it even be the way of doing things, be it even be protocol, as we just mentioned in the previous story, that hold that in such high regard, they don't see the younger generation as humans. They see them as deviants. They see them as rebellious. They see them as, why are you not fitting within the cocoon in which we have laid down the foundation for? So that's where I see sometimes leads to actions like these. What do you say, CEO?
I was just thinking, do you understand what is culture?
Yes, a way of life. Yeah, I knew you trigger you.
And then I sat down
Okay.
and I'm thinking,
Yes.
they're waxing lyrical and you're not having a standpoint from where we are in this topic. You see, culture, let me educate you.
It's a way of life, though.
No, let me educate you
Okay,
now.
go ahead. Go ahead, I'm listening.
It is wrong to equate people being killed with culture.
Continue.
Totally.
Why?
Because the culture you are talking about is a way of life, popular way, majority way of life, which defines a community.
Yes.
When it does not define that community, it is not culture. In 12th century, the Shakespearean age, in UK, the witch hunting was the biggest thing, and women were killed for being witches. I just want to educate you, it's not an African thing. It is an economic thing.
Yes.
It was not there before. It is here now. It is not cultural. Let's get our perspectives right.
Can different things be adopted into a culture, though? You're saying that different things cannot be adopted into a culture, so a culture never evolves? Is that what
It
you're
does
saying?
evolve.
It
It
evolves.
does evolve.
So that means
But
new
that's
things
why
can actually be
laws are
added
passed.
into.
That's why, Simon, that's why this thing has been in certain areas only. And it has been in certain areas where there's land pressure. In Kisii, there is land pressure
Why?
because of the plots are smaller and the population is higher. I want us to put these things into perspective for audiences out there to understand why these issues are there.
Yes.
We do not generalize everything because it fits the narrative which it's always there out there. This issue in Kisii has been there because Anne Maria is a girl from Kisii, though born in Nairobi. The plots in Kisii are very small.
Very.
They're very small. The population density is extremely high. So you want to get space to start a family and build your home, but you have no land. So people have devised a way of killing older people to inherit their land. It's not culture. It's just economic pressure and lack of land. Let's go to Mombasa, the Kilifi area. In Kilifi, there's a lot of people who want to settle in Kilifi right now. It's a hot cake. And there are many older people who have this, still are holding on to this land. And the younger generation feel that if they sell that land, they will make money and they'll start off in a better footing. That's what is happening in these counties. Otherwise, if it is a cultural thing, the way you are stating it, 90%, and the figures, it's 8 out of every month, 8 people. Kenya is a country of 50 million people. 30% are older people. In Luo Nyanza, we would have had those deaths. We are not getting them there. It's 1 or 2. Because the communities have a way of defining how to relate with the old people. And by the way, it is only that these people who are either widowed in those areas where there's land pressure or where there's economic value for that land, where people are trying to snatch that land, it has nothing to do with their cultural background.
See that widowed issue? Here's the reason why. Culture comes into play because you don't see the woman as someone who can actually own land. And you view now the man, because the man is gone, this woman has no authority as the man did, because your culture says that the man is actually the one who should actually now stand and actually gives that land itself like security with that family. So now this woman is not viewed because of the culture. This woman is not viewed as someone immediately when it's widowed. This is now access, because indeed the person who actually owns, imagine they don't even say she owns it. They say because the husband has died, and then that land is free. Because they don't see her as a person who can own land, they only see her as the man. So that's how you see now that cultural aspect comes into play.
It's
Let
not
me-
But you
culture,
know
it's
what?
stupidity.
Let me.
It's cultural aspect.
Let me-
Because the perception of viewing, you viewing it through the lens. I'm saying the people who view things through the lens of culture. I'm not saying culture in itself innately is bad. I'm saying people who judge people innately through the lens of culture. Before even I talk to CEO, because of the way he looks, although he carries himself, I've already seen him through the lens of culture, and I've already judged him, and hence the actions I would take will come from that prejudice.
Dr.
But
C, you want to say something?
I wanted to say, I agree with you in terms of what is this culture we are talking about. It's a popular thing, and it doesn't have to be, it actually is a criminal thing. Why? Because let's talk about corporate culture and what is keeping women from getting into the C-suite. So, you know, this thing is happening in a very primitive way, in the sense that women are being lynched. There's also corporate lynching, where a woman reaches a certain age and literally you're on lynching her. You're too old. There are younger people coming.
Or you're pregnant, now you.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
you're
that's
pregnant.
why you see the government has enacted laws that if a woman is pregnant, you give her maternity leave, and it's legal. You understand? And that's why companies are being held accountable. Why are you not having women in high end, in terms of C-suite, in terms of leadership on your board as CEOs? These are just things traditionally that are being used against women, and in this case, I also want to add the elderly. Yeah? So you find that even in the medieval Europe, when women were resisting, and this was just menopause, yeah, you know, their hormones would change, and it would be, and usually there would be women of a certain age, and at that time, at that age of 40, 45, you're in yourself, so you're not gonna, you can see injustices, and you stand up against it. So the society generally did not like the fact that women were resisting some of the things. So this is what we call mob justice, in a way that we are hiding behind culture. And that's why, much as the government declared in this country particularly, witchcraft is illegal, I think it has to be illegal to actually call somebody a witch, unless you have evidence. That it just must be criminalized. Because real people, like these statistics are dire. When we are talking about 41 people died out of the Gen Z protests we are having, we are talking about over 200 people every year dying out of this, people being maimed, you know, out of these things we are talking about. So yeah, so let's not hide behind culture. And I agree. Culture, that is lynching, and it's more on the popular side.
Let's call a crime a crime. If it's a crime, it's a crime.
Take us on a break.
And before we go on break, so what I want to say is this. So if you participate in any of these things, on lynching, on calling people, you are a murderer yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're accessory to murder. If you are in the law enforcement and you're not enforcing the law, in terms of somebody is being lynched and you're standing there, you think it's okay, you're also a murderer. So it's an epidemic.
There's so much degrees of murdering,
Yes.
and it starts with you who even suspects and says, or claim to suspect and say. Let's take a short break, and we'll be right back on Let's Be Real.
Hey, welcome back. Are you sipping your own Samantha's wine? Why not? Why are you not sipping? Get yourself some good Samantha's wine, okay? As we keep it real right here. Maria, hey, I need to take a sip for you before your story. I know your story is coming. Go ahead.
Oh, a man falls in love again.
Ah,
Na akatuma fare.
again. I'll do another sip.
Is that the story, honestly? What? Is that the headline?
Are you
Akatuma fare.
serious?
8 million. A British man claims to have been conned 8 million. Dr. C is
Are you
keeping
serious?
so well,
Tell us
yeah.
more. Tell us more. What happened?
He claims to have been conned 8 million by a Kenyan lady.
Really?
Yeah, I know he's asking for help, actually. I don't know why that's a good thing. He's asking for help because he has nothing. He's been hosted by a friend now. So there's no way.
Boy.
Actually, you know what? My problem with that is the way you're even saying it, Maria.
What's the problem? What is it?
Yeah, the problem with it, honestly, I looked at that clip, And I felt really sorry.
For him.
For him.
I felt sorry for him because that's criminal.
You're a criminal.
It's criminal. No. It's really criminal, and it's another example of how the elderly are really being taken advantage of. But even though I'm wondering, he says he worked for this big organization,
Yeah.
and he was in charge of logistics or something like that.
Red Cross, UN.
Yeah, so he must have had, like, honestly,
Common sense.
8
the
million.
common sense. So I'm wondering, is he putting on his begging face, or I think it is really wrong.
He's putting on his begging face.
You are sending this money. There was an agreement that this lady was building a house where they'll all come and live in. So how did he send the money? If he can prove that he sent the money, yeah, then this lady can be found. And maybe, I don't know, like...
But you know, nowadays, these men claim to be sending fare for them to just clout. Nowadays, I feel that.
You think he's
I
lying? Why
think
is an
so.
old
Because
70-year-old...
He's smart. Let me start with that. No, for one, for you to send money, go buy land. You've bought the land. Start building. Yours is just sending. No evidence. I'm not coming to visit.
She was sending photos. She was sending photos.
I need to visit the place. If I can afford 8 million to just give you, I can also afford to come and see where you are building the house. I need to approve some things. You don't even want the structure?
Here's the thing. I have a whole different perspective that's completely different from what you
I'm
guys
scared.
are saying. Completely different. I am proud of the way Kenyan ladies are putting men through fire. And we're exporting this now all the way. I am proud of you.
I
You
support
ladies,
you.
I am very proud of you. Export the pain, don't keep it internalized here. You realize that Kenyan men are already been eaten too much and the economy has hit them too hard.
Kenyan
that
men
even-
are complaining of 200 shillings fare,
Exactly.
surely.
Go ahead and export the pain and let others suffer. And that is very good. I even like that indeed we have exported our efforts toward Kukula Fair. These are mainly one of the efforts for the government expounding, areas of income from exporting from outside nations to bring them in. I don't have an issue. My girls out there, if you see an opportunity, use your beauty and your wit in words. Kula your fair. Eat all the money that you can, but just don't get caught. Because if you get caught, don't tell me that Simon told you so. But here's the thing. Also, there's this. I don't in any way feel sorry for any man who loses money to a woman who he has never met. I feel nothing.
Me too.
No,
I
they
feel
met.
nothing.
They
I
met.
feel nothing.
How strong was that
Nothing.
relationship? Okay, what were they? They were just dating.
They were dating.
Just
This is a
dating.
girlfriend who disappeared.
Don't you say
And that's
this.
the point. A girlfriend. Why are you investing in a girlfriend? They leave tomorrow.
I want to, even Mario, let me just, Dr. C, even you stated this. He stated this guy has worked in several institutions, like for example, the UN and everything. Within the UN, there are protocols of even acquiring a certain thing. Even if you want to acquire a simple bottle of wine, what do? You have to get an acquisition, they have to do what? You have to confirm that indeed the receipt has actually been done. Then you confirm that indeed the product has actually been brought to you, and there are ways of confirming this. You have the intelligence of all these protocols. You recognize them within the corporate scene, and you've worked in this several times. If you as a man, with two working heads, and then you now get defrauded here by a lady, and it was only 8 million. Even it could have been more. I think he even stopped because maybe he reached 80,000 euros, and he said that that's all the money that he had. First of all, that's all the money.
His retirement.
Yeah, that's all his retirement. 80,000.
And that's a problem.
And now that's what I say. I feel nothing for any man that loses money to a woman he has never met, and at the same time you're sending it
Even
based,
if he has
and you're
met.
sending
But
it based
these
on
are-
trust and lust.
But that's
lust.
the woman.
Lust.
The woman is a scammer.
And
Yes,
I applaud her.
they are all
I
over.
applaud her.
We
Do we
have
want to
a lot-
become a country of scammers?
Not a country of scammers.
Look at. Let me tell you. Try to travel. Try to travel internationally.
Yes.
They are not
Or
scammers.
try to even just like any email coming out of. I'll tell you something. I try to source some raw materials outside of this country, and I'm telling you, this scamming thing
It's
is
real.
really bad because no one takes you seriously. The email is from Africa. Forget it.
But they've all,
Forget it unless you go through the trade agency in this country. there's no one internationally that actually is taking any email from Africa seriously. Okay, maybe Kenya may be a little bit better, but if it comes out of Nigeria it's even
tricky.
worse. So do we want to get there?
CEO, what do you think first of all, before you say that?
I think it's madness, total madness. For
On whose part?
both the man and the lady, because, and I'll say madness because one, the fair economy has really developed many of Kenyan girls, for example. But this man, you have retired. You have 8 million, you decide to send to a woman. Are you out of your mind? Why don't you go move there, identify a piece of land, yourself, build, and stay? But I find that most older people who are always gullible when they come to their money with these younger girls. And it's not only him alone. Very many people have fallen tricks, even to an extent that how do you send someone money you don't know? You just see the photo you've never talked to. For example, someone tells you, oh, I'm Maria, and you believe. And there's a guy here in Kilimani who is eating other men's fare, pretending to be a woman.
Imagine, that's true.
And men send him fare.
Yes, imagine. And they said he very
Gullible. It's
from last.
impossible.
Where are they
From
getting-
last. Seriously.
And there's a girl out here who's not getting a man to send fare.
Yes.
Oh no.
She's not using her. That's the problem. I blame her. She's not using entrepreneurial skills.
But what I'm coming back to what
Simon, do you
Dr.
live in
C-
Kilimani? I'm just asking.
I'm coming back to what Dr. C. So it is really sad. But also remember, I wouldn't like us to be seen as the world of scammers. You know, right now in Nairobi, there are four kinds of scamming. There's gold scamming.
Yeah.
There's wash. There's even people who will, and there are many. There are women who will still scam you.
Traveling. Even
A
traveling.
scam.
there are those.
So it becomes a problem when we become an epicenter of all this. Remember, the Congolese president one day came to Nairobi to follow his gold. And I can tell you, which had
Not even
disappeared.
laughable.
Are you serious?
Up to now.
It disappeared, a whole consignment.
A whole
Remember,
president came.
the Dubai prince who came to Nairobi and called the president that his gold has disappeared. And he was sent fake gold. So we have a problem with honesty in our country. And that's why politically, you see the Gen Zs are rising. Because people, even politically, you find someone goes and paints a bridge, and every year tells the electorate, I've built for you this. It's
just
coming.
Yes, it's called wash or scamming.
It's coming.
Somebody has to describe what wash is.
It's crazy.
It's just cleaning up dirty money, just washing it out.
So now we have reached to even had worse levels on leadership where people are lying, are stealing, and it becomes a norm. So we need to really check this thing so that it doesn't even reach to our kids.
And you know what? I love what you're saying, CEO. What is the difference between this girl
And the politicians.
And the
and the
politician.
politicians who say lies,
Yeah.
and then we vote them into office, and then
Yeah.
they do nothing completely.
Her 8 million is nothing
And
compared to
then
theirs.
buy watches. I don't know
Okay,
what.
that's
For
what
2
has been
million.
an issue. I feel like we should, like I said, we should have one day a whole episode to talk about how corruption trickles down.
Speaking of
because this
politicians.
is what happens.
Speaking of politicians, by the way, there's a politician somewhere from our own East African countries. As
right,
Dr. C takes a sip, because she knows where I'm going with this. Well, there's a politician in South Sudan. What happened was he got really angry. He got up in his feelings, all because his wife, his property, and some of his even buildings were actually now shown on a particular show that Dr. C is on. Now the thing is, when it came to this show, he really got angry. Even he started even now following up with a suit and everything. When it comes to this aspect of things, before even I add my own input, the guy got angry that his wife was featured in this show, to the extent he filed a lawsuit. That says a lot even about even their marriage in itself, that he had no idea that his wife was even involved. To what extent does your wife go out of her way to do things that you don't approve? But this CEO.
You see, Simon, I'll tell you that I'm a modern person, and number two, I know you're talking about the South Sudanese
Yes.
leader, and you have to look at situations, how things are done. South Sudan is heavily traditional, still heavily traditional. There are only two tribes we are talking about there who are in leadership. The Dinkas and Nuer. We call them the G speakers. Include the Luos there. And I really understand why this man cannot understand. These are men who are men of war. We are in 2022, 24 here. South Sudan, in the political and socialist rule, they're in like 1960s. Is when they're finding their footing. Is when they're. So this man has bought buildings in Nairobi. This is not the only wife. Number one, you must understand that.
There are several wives.
There are several wives. And you're not sure whether the money he's used to buy this building is from clean business. Most of this money is from other things. And many politicians who buy property in Kenya, for example, and from outside countries, they do not use the money. They actually use public money. And they come to hide and they buy. This property is always hidden property. They are not supposed to be shown. So he's not suing because the woman is on the show. He's suing because he's trying to protect the people at home who will know that he has stolen from the government. It's a way of just trying to stop it from that angle. So it's not about, oh, how do you guys do? No. It's not. This is not normal thing, Simon. I want you to understand sometimes that life is not about. It's about perspectives. Life is about how people live at this area. It's not uniform, and that's why it cannot relate to some of us completely. Kenya has moved. We have a 2010 constitution. Our constitution is different. That people, in South Sudan, people are still grappling with basic
Needs.
problems. Basic problems. They need roads. They need education. They have been in the bush for 41 years. It's only they got independence in 2005. So the population where they're still getting their feet out of the darkness.
Dr. C, what do you say?
Actually, I'm legally bound not to talk about it.
Is that serious?
Because it involves a cast member, so I really cannot talk about it into the details. But I can talk as a producer. I've produced very many reality shows. I think our viewers will remember Samantha's Bridal Show that was airing on this particular station, Our Dream Wedding on this station, Happily Ever After, a show we aired here. So I know a lot about reality, and that it's always the potential of being sued is always very high.
High, very.
And obviously, as far as reality is concerned, you need to have all your ducks in a row, because anything can happen. And I am sure the concerned people are dealing with it. I'm not in any position to speak to it.
Is she still on the show?
I don't know. You would have to watch, or you can call them and ask them. Legally, I cannot speak about it.
Hey, I've never seen you so measured. I'm proud of you, by the way.
That contract.
Here's a different twist I have to this. Before even you speak, here's a different twist I have to this. When it comes to aspects of, for example, her engaging into the show, it's not necessarily that was the case, but aspects of how is the wife not informed on some of these things? Like, how are you guys not on the same page? So that now these sort of things do not get out there. For example, if you are well aware that indeed you know what your husband is doing, all right, and you recognize a certain property, so it's common because you guys are in common communication. Hey, we're gonna shoot in this apartment here, and it's happening. So if normal things would be like, so we're gonna need, there's some little needs here and there that will be needed. Of course, make sure that this is already, make sure that this driver of this person comes, is the guard, those small nitty gritties. So I'm thinking communication should have done before even the shooting. So this communication was not done. That says a lot even about the communication within even their own relationship altogether. And I'm even breaking it down in the sense that to what extent even should a lady be more loyal to the relationship than to the extent that even now it covers, even shields even the man. To what extent are ladies even loyal to a relationship to the extent that they're aware that this action that I am doing is gonna be a problem to us as a family? So to what extent are ladies now, are they too individualistic to be loyal to the, and not loyal to the relationship, and you're more or less loyal to yourself? In this now, in this whole very self-individualistic world, in which you're very loyal to yourself first, rather than loyal to the relationship
That's
first.
being so judgmental.
No, yes.
Because you don't
And
have
judgment is necessary.
you don't have all aspects of everything. What you've just read is in the news. So I would not judge the lady, I would not judge the man. We would actually, you would have to look at the whole lawsuit and look at everything. So I wouldn't be too judgmental in that way. In this case, you sound like you're judging this lady.
I'm okay with
Or
judging.
you're judging the man.
I'm perfectly fine being a judge. I don't mind. I'm perfectly fine. I don't mind. Like, I'm not one of those people saying I'm not judging. I judge. If you don't judge,
And you're judging.
and I'm okay. And the thing is, and I'm even okay with that. And I'm taking a step back. And I'm taking a step back, and I told you that in a holistic society, and I'm speaking in general, in a holistic society, because we all judge one another. In a holistic society, to what extent are even people loyal to a relationship rather than actually now loyal to even themselves? You're loyal to yourself, to your own intrinsic goals that you want. I have this desire to do this, but it comes at the expense of our relationship. That's one thing that you have to look at even when it comes to modern relationships we have in this modern world, and not necessarily even in that case scenario individually itself.
Simon,
Okay.
Yes.
the South Sudanese marriage,
What?
the South Sudanese marriage is not modern. It's traditional.
It's very traditional.
That's why I took a step back and I said general.
And I want to tell you that the gentleman you're talking about probably is in his 60s, 70s.
Oh,
Yes.
I want you to understand that. And number two, I want you to tell you that they do not marry, the women in that area are not married to appear in the shows. So he comes from a very traditional perspective. You understand?
So she went out of her way to...
No, you marry a young woman who is, and I can assure you, this cannot be the only wife of these men.
Of course.
Because in South Sudan, the politicians marry 4, 5, 6 women. Because they're still in that age. What you're calling modernity is still not yet at that level. To marry a South Sudanese girl, a Dinka girl, you need 1,000 herds of cattle. 2 V8, natural.
That's confirmed.
Confirmed.
Why are they specifying the type of a car?
Huh?
It's crazy, standard. It is one of the biggest thing. And to Nuer too. So I'm imagining, in our marriages here today, we do not pay that high bride price. Of course, of modernity, the people have gone to school, and we don't equate all these things. So it's a traditional setup. What I would say, and what Dr. C is saying, is that sometimes, you know, as we are looking at that society as our society, which is not. The lady is in Kenya. She has now
Being acclimated
acclimatized to how we relate, how we do our things, but the husband
Is not.
is not.
But I would say
That's
this.
not well. That's the aspect.
I would-
The people, just rebuttal. I'm so sorry. The thing is, that's exactly what I was pointing at. When it comes to now that twist in culture, in the sense that the way she's been acclimated, she's now switched to be a little bit more individualistic.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what I was trying to say is, to what extent is she loyal to the relationship versus individualism? That's the contrast I was bringing up. But go ahead, Maria. Sorry.
Okay, I would say this. Every marriage is different. And the way theirs is set up and what led to all that is maybe in a different situation. If it was maybe in Kenya, it would have been different. If it was maybe in Kikuyu land, it would have been how much is it first before we talk about the mistakes or anything else. that is what would have happened. So everything is different. But now let me go to your general perspective of how the individuality of a person versus the loyalty. There's a difference between informing my husband and communicating with my husband. Okay. If it involves both of us, I will communicate. Yes. This school is not good for our child. We are transferring our child. Let's communicate. I have a job that requires me moving. Let's communicate. But I need to take a trip because I'm doing a book and my creativity is kind of low a little bit. Let's plan and find a way that I can do it. That one, I'm informing you so that you can also clear your schedule for the sake of my life. Is that okay? So, if we understand the difference between the communication and the informing, there are things that I just inform you because I can't be communicating with you that I'm going to the salon. I'll only inform you that I've been late. There is the informing part and there is the communication part. So, I am loyal to you. I just don't take all my life and give it to you as if I'm not an individual who has a life. I am still living my life. I am still a person. I still have things that I want to do with my life that do not necessarily involve you. If I cannot make a decision, like you cannot come to your house and find it vacant, I moved, without me and you sitting down to talk about it. But you can come home and find me not there because I had issues to deal with, and you should not have a problem with that. So there's informing and there's communicating. And I expect the same grace from you. There are things you inform me and there are things we communicate. You don't come knocking my house at midnight telling me wake up and make me food if I did not know that what time you're coming home. Yeah.
Well,
that's why microwaves exist.
Well,
yes.
Well, it
you
depends.
can't do it yourself.
But CEO, it depends. But CEO,
No.
it depends from house to house because even CEO even tell you that there's some people who already know cognitively he will come in at midnight and he will knock and I already know my protocol is and actually I wake up and actually do that and it's not a problem.
It's not every marriage works
and it's
differently.
not a problem.
Yes.
So even you have to
but you should not judge the ones that have decided my individuality gets to this measure.
But Maria, you
But
said
these are generation clashes.
it's a general clash.
Yeah, yes.
For these two people, I said, remember, if you are getting married to an older person of 70 years,
I cannot tell him that.
you will not tell him to go and warm his food.
How?
You will not tell him to go and change the nappies.
But if he brought 1,000 cows and the two V8s, I'll wake up and warm. If they were given to me.
You see, wait, but that's a very interesting perspective. But that's very interesting. But the more wealth you have as a man, the more flexibility you have.
The women are.
Yeah, but
it's natural.
the more flexibility you have.
It has always been like that traditionally.
So if you're a broke guy like us, you have no flexibility.
It's true. How are you broke and then coming to wake me up?
There's no
Yes,
flexibility.
on top of
You're more
it,
flexible.
when you're broke, you're coming late.
Yes.
You're coming to,
That is true, by
you
the
will not
way.
find me that
I'm
way.
here trying to help you, actually.
That is true. Even in older times, even you can attest, the guy with more land will get a little bit more flexibility in the sense that you're able to have more wives, and the wives will be more understanding.
And that is where I
because
draw
they
the
have
line.
more-
Yes.
And I'm
Yeah,
saying
that's
back
what
in the
I'm
day, I'm
going
saying
with.
back in the day, his days, you know, back in the
Because
hashtags.
baby what
That
life?
was his days.
Baby girl treatment.
Baby girl treatment life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you live by.
And
Yes.
you know, there's a place in Kenya. Okay, I think the Wangas will lynch me. No girl wants to get married as a first wife
Why?
because they want the soft life.
Yeah.
The first wife is gets
The
hardened.
first wife, yes, trust me. You are in.
Connie,
Remember,
you're first one.
we are straight.
You're
I
very
am
good.
first right
You're
now,
very good.
but immediately the second comes, I'm out. So this is
Really?
the. I mean, I'm not gonna.
I thought he was precedent in the sense that the
No.
first wife has prominence over the others.
You are the one who struggles with the man to stay when he's starting. You're the one who's struggling. Once he's done struggling, he's now settled. Now I want that car.
And plus also if you're getting married to a politician, politicians want to be, it takes a special character, a special something to be a politician. Yeah, so they want to be the center of attention. So what do you mean you have a wife who is more popular than you? These are some of the things to think about.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So it's about these people being in the 60s and finding, so think about Kenya in the 60s. Like
Yeah, it's
they
very
would
far.
not do, they're
What they're
really,
doing.
really far.
So these are
But
the
also-
problems that a lot of sugar babies go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so these are the issues that they go
Okay,
through.
I've never been
because
a
no,
sugar
I'm just
babe, so
trying
I
to
don't
wonder,
know.
like, because you're dealing with an older guy, and hence that's a big generational thing. Hence why a lot of young girls, when they get older guys, they feel very cocooned because this guy understands that my woman, because I take care of you, you are not going anywhere unless I.
But can I bring something into perspective? Have you realized that on the same show we've talked about the privilege of men when they are older versus the privilege of women when they get older, and it's not fair.
Explain.
What are you talking about?
Explain.
These women that are called witches, they are older women, right? But some men when they are older, they can marry, they can have lives, they can even look for younger women, and it's nothing.
But now in the modern age, nowadays, older women can also get younger boys. Then they do whatever they want.
What are you saying?
What are you saying?
What have you said?
I'm saying that
But
the
I understand
privileges
what
of
you
men
mean.
are different than the privileges of women. When
Men.
they get old.
But
When
here's
they
the
get
thing.
older.
Yes.
It's about
But
money.
you know, it's
Yeah,
about money. It's about
Oh, so-
resources, and it's about
So resources.
Women out
over
there, we need a lot of
generations.
money.
Women over generations have been disenfranchised for the
about
longest
resources.
time. Yeah, about resources. And now things are actually really changing.
It's about
Things are changing. That there are powerful women, and even they have names. They're called cougars.
And we are okay being called cougars.
Well, whichever way. Why would you like? If you want to be a cougar, yesterday I saw a celebrity, one of the celebrities, saying, at this point in time, how can you choose? There's something about choosing one Gen Z over
Another a millennial.
a millennial. Oh, no. Anyway, one of the whatever.
You just forget let it go. But either way, if you're a young guy and you get an older woman, congratulations.
And if you're a woman, you get an old...
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
So this is what we are saying. Is this. So what we are saying in conclusion, Simon.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be a cougar.
Simon. So what we are saying, all these.
Why is this not? Why
It's a
are
war
we
of
changing?
control. Dr. C said
It's
that.
a war
Of control.
It's about control. It's about who is controlling who. It's not about rights. It's not about tradition. It's not about. It's just about exerting control
Authority.
on control and authority on another human being.
That's it. And that's
But what
kept it
if it's
real.
genuine love?
Hey,
No,
that's
genuine love cannot really. If you love something, let it go because it will just come back to you.
I don't believe
It's
that.
said.
See, I don't believe that.
It's
See,
true.
See your rappers
That
up,
is
but I don't
control
believe
and
that.
slavery.
I don't believe he'll come back to you. He can go and go.
Go where?
The bed was never meant.
Me, if I chose you, even if you are 90, I will
I don't
come
believe
back.
in that destiny. You fight for what you
Okay,
want.
guys.
No.
Okay.
See you before you speak. If I
Yes.
choose you, even if you are 90, I will come back. Willingly. If I choose you, even if
You
you are
come
90,
to his grave.
I
That's
will
when you
come
be back.
No, it's okay. There's money.
Then you come back
See
with
you
the
around.
flag.
We were supposed to talk
They call
about.
him a hero.
We were
Well,
supposed to
we're
talk
done.
about
Well.
Anna Nicole Smith.
Anna Nicole?
Anna Nicole Smith. She
Yes.
said, and if I choose, even if you are 90, I come back. Yeah, Anna Nicole Smith actually stayed.
Yeah, you see,
And actually,
there
we'll
was
come
money
back
though.
next week.
Yes.
We'll come back next week to these topics. The topics of cougars, of sugar babies, and whoever.
Being buried with
men,
flags.
And being buried with flags. It has been real. We've kept it real. It's Let's Be Real.
Samantha Wines, now available in all the leading wine stores.